Hi everyone, welcome to this poverty reduction tools for frontline staff session. Today we've got two presentations. We've got Martin, who's here from the London Capital Credit Union, and Gio is here from We Belong. And so thanks everyone for coming along. I am going to pass along to Martin. So welcome Martin, and please take it away. I'll start sharing your slides.
Oh, you're a star, thank you. Firstly, my name is Martin Groombridge. I have the grand title of Chief Executive Officer of London Capital Credit Union, but it's only a smallish organisation, relatively speaking. So I'm also known as Martin the Money down in my local pub. I'm not sure that's a good one, but there you go. I thought to come at the opportunity today to come along and explain about London Capital Credit Union. We've not done an awful lot of work in the past over in Hackney, although we've got many thousands of members there already just by default. On the next slide, sorry, am I able to move them on, or do I have to rely on you? If that's all right, John, if we can do that, I'll just prompt you. So what are credit unions? The basics, right? I suspect some people here are already members of credit unions. There are lots of them, but they have certain things in common. We're savings and loans cooperatives. We're owned and controlled by the members themselves, and that any person with £1 can become a member, and each £1 of savings is a £1 share in the cooperative. And the thing that, as I say, there are hundreds of credit unions, not millions around the world, but hundreds of them in the United Kingdom still. And one thing they have in common is which is shown on the next slide, which will be the international cooperative values and principles. So all credit unions share these principles. They apply them in slightly different ways. Voluntary and open membership means that you've got that it's a requirement to be a proper cooperative. You can't say we don't want certain types of people here. It means that it's democratic member control. It's one person, one vote, which makes a big difference to the way that we operate as a financial institution. Economic participation, it's our members' savings which fund the business. Autonomy and independence means that we act on the behalf of our members and not any third parties such as funders or other parties. Education, training, information, that's about it's not just about providing savings and loans, it's about making sure members are informed and educated about working with money. Cooperation amongst cooperatives, we don't compete, so there is more than one credit union in Hackney, so which is traditionally why we've not operated in that area, not to tread on any toes. And then finally, concern for the community. It's not just about the members, it's all about the places where we live. I mean, I'm based over in Archway, over just across the border in Islington, but we all share the same place, the same planet, and the same place to live. On the next slide, it will show you just prompt me to remind you about the history. So I'm saying about an open membership. It was founded by a group of people who came to work in the United Kingdom. They were brought here, encouraged to come here and work for London Transport, as it was then, to be bus drivers. They went to a large, well-known bank with a blue logo and was asked to open a bank account. We're told, we don't want your sort here, because this predates the Race Relations Act. This bank was quite famous for its cooperation with the apartheid regime. And so these credit union founders knew credit unions from the West Indies, where they'd come from, and they decided to set up a credit union in the back of their church, Fern Park Baptist Church in Hornsey, and it's been running ever since then. And the basics of it is that we promote savings and provide loans. Over the years, for regulation meant that credit unions had to be small, so to come together, and each year the number of credit unions declines, but membership continues to increase. So London Credit Union, Capital Credit Union, on the next slide shows that we've made some quite dramatic growth over the last 10 years. Well, over 20 years, it's been even more than that, but got quite sizable now. Some significant increases in membership, but both savings and loans. And the key thing there, which is probably the most important one for me, is that the savings has increased more than anything else. And the primary objective of the credit union is to encourage savings, because that's a way of preventing indebtedness and preventing poverty. And it's not easy. to save. We all know that. It's a bit like pushing water uphill. So we've been quite successful in that sense. On the next slide, which talks about the credit union statistics from the Bank of England. This is from the latest figures, which is available to the end of March, April, May, June this year, which shows that credit unions across the UK have got 2 million members with £4 billion worth of assets. And there are different kinds of credit unions, and on the next slide, it would just remind me to prompt me. There are different types of credit unions. It's called industrial, and they're community. So some of the biggest credit unions in the UK are industrial, so they work around police service, the armed forces, and to be membership criteria is around an industry. You need to work for or a particular employer or in a particular industry. So it's almost entirely working for working people. And then you have community credit unions, and which is very much what we are in London community, the base down in Tower Hamlets is that our origins are set up primarily to help poor people, unemployed people, people in insecure employment. So different markets, if you like. And London Capital has been quite successful because we've done a bit of both. So we've used some of our industrial working with employer partners to generate profitable business, which allows us to do very small, unprofitable loans to people in the community that need access to affordable credit. And the importance of that is salary savings schemes. So Hackney Council employees, for instance, as with most of the councils across North London, staff can have savings come from their salary, which makes it more likely that people will save. But it also provides low-cost loans at the time, so they critically provides us with the capital to be able to lend. So if the next slide just points out that sort of approximately 30% of the United Kingdom have no savings, that's the statistics from the debt charity. That was published from March, so I think the data was a bit little earlier, but there's no reason to suspect that those figures have changed dramatically since then. And when we ask our members each year, and this has never changed actually in all the years I've been doing this job, so I've been doing it for about 20 odd years, that 50% of our members said they had no savings before they joined the credit union, and they've now got £22 million worth of savings as of today's date. So that's quite a significant sum of money that's there. On the next slide, it talks about, I think, the two LCCUs. This is a big problem we have. There are two LCCs. Well, there are more than two LCCUs. There's also a Leeds City Credit Union. There's London Capital Credit Union, London Community Credit Union, both operating in Haringey. Traditionally, the London Community Credit Union has operated in Hackney, and make that whole conversation all the time and always in the wrong places. But the key point is that because the credit union there has been running there, we've never made a big point of recruiting in that area. But the problem, the London community has been having problems. At the moment, they've closed to new members and are no longer offering loans at the moment until they get something sorted. Now, the key thing is to make sure that people working in the voluntary sector at the front line, providing services that relief of poverty, know that credit unions are still available to anybody working or living in Hackney, or actually in our case, anybody living or working across London can do that. So we have the same values and principles, but slightly different business models. They operate with lots of cash offices, which are very expensive, and we tend to be a single office for those people who can't use online access, but predominantly our business is telephone and online. But the principles are the same. We're both there to help people, to encourage people to save, and to make sure that people have an effective source of affordable credit. And credit is absolutely key to what we're talking about here. And on the next slide talks about the scale of unsecured lending in the United Kingdom. So that's personal loans, credit cards, overdraft facilities, payday lenders, and doorstep loans. So as of May 2023, which is the latest figures from the Bank of England, collectively those those types of loan have 14.2 billion in unsecured debt. Credit cards being the bulk of it, and that's between individuals, and we're excluding here mortgages and bank loans. Between them, individuals have over £4,000 debt each. Now, some of us have little or none, but the majority of people have some, and that's a major problem. And for most people, that's not a problem until they lose their job, or they become ill, or their partner leaves, or they have health problems, and then it becomes a problem. And there are major ways that it becomes a problem. And on the next slide, it talks about, and many of you are practitioners in this, in the voluntary and community sector and the statutory sector, will know the effects of debt in a whole range of things that affect us as humans. It affects physical health, their mental health, stressing, lying awake at night, worrying about debt. It talks about physical health, because if you're not sleeping well, it affects you physically as well. It causes breakdowns of relationships, issues about housing problems, and being able to just simply not being able to get to work, and causing problems about employment. If you haven't got the petrol to get to work, you lose your job. So there's a whole range of ways that debt causes a problem. And so it's very important for us on the next slide, which points out what the credit union is. So people, if they've heard about credit unions, they know that we help people on low income. They know that we're here to help people who've perhaps had poor credit history for one reason or another in the past. And they know that we do loans. But what they probably don't understand is that prevention is better than cure. And our primary objective is to get people to save rather than borrow. And that's an absolute critical thing about what the credit union does. There's no way around that. A priority is always given in our lending is anybody who's borrowed first, although they're, bless you, John. And then there's no real reason why people should people can apply for a loan without saving, but it is the savings that provide us with the capital to lend. So we always give priority to somebody who started saving first, and that's the key thing to do. But on the next slide, we're talking about barriers to growth very regularly. Now, the new Labour government, I missed one, sorry. Yeah, save a loan principle is a quick key one, right? Anybody who borrows money from the credit union is borrowing members' savings. So they don't have to save before they apply for the loan, but we will not lend them money unless they agree to save whilst they pay off the loan. And we work on the basis that they're required to save £1 a day, bit less than £1 a day, actually it's £30 a month, because we work on the basis if you can't afford, you don't have a spare £1 a day in your wallet, then you simply cannot afford to borrow, and it's not morally right for us to be lending. It might be profitable for us in most cases, but it's not morally right. There are other ways and other sources of advice and income and support that might be better. And that's the key thing. So what will happen is traditionally most people say they will save. And if there are any debt advisors here, you'll probably say the same, is that before you pay off your debts, before you save, you should always pay off your debts. The problem is that with credit cards and overdraft, you never quite get rid of them. And so each one you think you're going to get back paid off, and then Christmas comes along and you rack up the overdraft again, and then what will happen is that your credit card gets maxed out at Christmas, and then you just go after Christmas because the washing machines and the heaters been ongoing all full, everything packs up, and then you end up bumping the credit card up. And because you've always got running these debts, you never get out of debt. So the save a loan principle is crucial to what London Capital Credit Union does. And it means that those people will borrow from the credit union in the same way as they might do using an overdraft or a credit card, but at much lower rates. To give at our typical rate, £1,000 borrowed, repaid over 12 equal payments. The typical rate, the total interest on that loan is £67. Bit less actually, but £67 on 1,000. So it's cheaper than anybody else other than the bank of mum and dad. But the many mums and dads here will know that one. The crucial thing is, as they pay that loan off, they build the savings up. So if you borrowed £1,000 at our typical rate, you pay £67, but you will have over £300 in savings at the end of the loan, because we take £30 of what you pay, put it into your savings account as you pay off the loan. The member decides how much they want to borrow and how long to pay, how long to pay it over. But I just use 12 months as a nice easy one to try and understand. And what happens traditionally is that people, in the same way as they would with a credit card or an overdraft, they borrow and they'll top it up and then never quite get rid of it. Except with the credit union, over time, 4 to 5 years, we can show that our members cease to be borrowers and then have savings. And when we're talking about poverty, one of the major causes of poverty is not always low income. It is about ability to manage money and the cost of credit. I saw somebody another local authority, actually, a social worker, we saved her and her husband over £800 a month in debt payments. And that's an enormous sum. And, they came to us, they were referred to us by a housing specialist because they had rent arrears. And that's somebody who's people often think about that. We often think about income rather than expenditure, and reducing the cost of credit is a key way of increasing income, because if you can reduce your expenditure, it's effectively a pay rise, isn't it? So I think that's that one, and then on the next one, barrister growth. The new Labour government has committed to make it a changing regulation, which is absolutely crucial for us, because historically there are severe restrictions on credit unions. Different people have different views why that might be. My personal opinion, not that of the credit union, is that they don't want any. Certain politicians don't want any competition against the bank with the banks. But what happens with credit unions is that if you were to live outside London, you can't join London Capital Credit Union because the regulator says you've got to live in a certain area, and that's something which will be changing, but it's not going to change very quickly. At the moment, we've got strange ways of doing that, but basically anybody who lives or works in Greater London can join London Capital Credit Union. But the regulation review that's underway by the government, hopefully before the end of this government changes or is renewed, that will change, and it will lead to further consolidation of credit unions. I suspect there'll be fewer credit unions, but much bigger and more efficient. And then finally, I think, is that on the next slide is about supporting residents. So a key point of view coming here is I'm an active trade unionist. The Trade Union Congress does research every year. And it's not often a chief executive of a financial institution who says they're an active trade unionist, I tell you. But the key thing here is the T used to do this research, and people say, why do people not join trade unions? Some people say, oh, they're too political, or they're not relevant, or there's no union where I work. When people ask in this research, and they do it every year, and it comes back with the same answer, it says, nobody ever asked me. Right? And the main reason is exactly the same with credit unions. The main reason people have not joined a credit union is that nobody's ever asked them. And what I ask for you to do is for you to think about putting a little bit of savings away for a rainy day, because those savings will be good for you, but it's also helping other people escape from debt. But also when you're talking with your client groups and your work colleagues, etc., to make sure that they're putting a little savings away, because if you've got a Christmas club with the credit union, you're more likely to remember that when you're talking to somebody about housing advice, for instance. So that's what the thing. I'd like to say, finally, just thank you very much for the invitation to come along. It's lovely to meet you all in this horrible cold day. And I've now got time to have a nice slurp of tea. I'm quite happy to take questions. Hope I haven't overrun, John.
No, that was great. Thanks, Martin. Really interesting. I didn't know anything about the history and the roots of the organisation as well. It's really, really interesting. Does anyone have any questions for Martin about the support available or the organisation in general?
No, that was just really informative. Sorry, I was a bit late, but it was really informative and helpful. And it's good for us all to be reminded these things are out there, because there's so much out there. It's just good to have things put in your mind, brought to the forefront again. That was a good presentation. Thank you.
Thanks, Tracy. I was going to ask Martin, do you have a sense of in Hackney, like, where your referrals come from, and are there sort of I guess parts of the system that you would like the sort of the word to get to, if you see what I mean?
It's virtually all word of mouth. and it comes coming from members are happy. Our entire business focus is about giving member satisfaction, so that's the key part of all job descriptions. Keep them, if the members are happy, the owners of the business, who are also customers, they're not customers in the sense that they're just there for money for us. They're customers in the sense they can go and have savings accounts anywhere, and they can borrow anywhere. But they are members of the credit union, and they own the business. They should get the best quality of service, and that's where we get our membership. We spend little or nothing on advertising. It's all word of mouth, and that's key part of having the voluntary and community sector on board with that as well. And again, if the people here are members, they're more likely to. And I noticed as a councillor there, people will come to councillors, people will come to trade union officials when they've got financial problems, and if people are members, they're more likely to know people to refer to them.
Great, yeah, no, makes sense. And have you seen the sort of demand increase significantly in the last few years? Then has it gotten a lot worse, as it were?
It has, and poverty has had a real issue. So the demand for loans has gone up. So we're doing roughly £1 million a month at the moment in loans, and that's much higher than before, but it's always growing just because the membership is growing. And of course, with inflation in recent years, if you wanted a new washing machine or a new kitchen, it's 10% higher now than it was 2 years ago. So that increases it. But we've seen an increase in the number of people who can no longer afford loans. They're just no longer affordable. One of the key things that makes us different is where people struggle with debt. We just say, well, until you get yourself sorted, just pay us £1 a week or freeze the interest, and we'll sort it out when you go back to work. And that makes us different. So that does make it easier for our members when they do face struggle, because many of us, this issue about poverty is temporary, it's not permanent. They might be new to this country, they may be in low paid employment because their qualifications are not recognised in this country, but at a certain point they get themselves sorted and they go into decently paid jobs and they're able to save and afford loans. And then other people might be doing a fantastic great job working for a local authority now, and then go through a divorce or redundancy, and then they're up what's it creek without a paddle, aren't they?
Yeah, no, exactly. And is the website the best way for people to get in touch? And you mentioned the phone as well. Is it quite a simple sort of?
I think on that final slide had the contact details, didn't it? So if you could share that, you can join online. It's free to join. There's no membership fees, so you could put your money in, take it out when you want, as long as you keep £1 in there really close. But you're not tied into anything. We even have one thing to remember: if you are going to join the credit union, save a bit. We have a prize saver scheme, which we encourage people. This is the people who say they can't afford to save, but then buy a lottery ticket. And so we run our own equivalent, but it doesn't cost anything. It's just a savings account, but it has a top prize of £5,000 every month. So mine's a pint if you win that one, folks. And so it's a really good incentive. So go to the website, it's www.credit- like a minus sign union.coop, COOP. It's free to join. As I say, there's a green button there on how to join. You'll just need I think you might need your national insurance number, but otherwise you're all good to go.
Brilliant. And I'll obviously share all of that info and the slides in the newsletter. Charlie, did you want to come in?
Hi Martin, really good presentation. Do you work with any financial inclusion teams inside local authorities?
I shouldn't have had that mouthful of biscuit then, should I, Charles? Sorry about it. We do actually, but they say because we've overlapped with a number of credit unions, and we try to cooperate amongst ourselves. We've never done that in Hackney until now, because but we do in Islington, City of London, Camden and Haringey, Brent, Enfield, all of those other areas we cover. We work directly with local authority financial inclusion teams. We work with citizens advice bureaus. Traditionally, because London community is operating in Hackney, we've sort of don't want to tread on any toes, so we've left alone. But obviously, with them being closed to membership at the moment, it doesn't make sense for us to. We want to make sure people don't go, because if they can't get a loan from the London community, they will go to a loan shark, and that's what we're trying to avoid.
Thank you. That's really helpful to know. Do you know Shahidul then, who's our head of financial inclusion?
I don't. I'd love the invitation to say hello, though.
We'll
Send an
introduce
invitation for Christmas. We have our Christmas party coming up next Friday, so it'd be a good time to come and say hello.
John and I will introduce you. Thank you, Martin.
Thank you.
Great, thanks, Charlie. Does anyone else have any questions or comments before we move on? Could you put the link in the chat? Do you mean for the website?
Yeah, it might have been earlier before I came in, but
no, I don't think it was. So
let's have it.
Yeah.
While it's in my mind.
Cool, thanks, Josie.
Yes.
We'll put the link in the chat. Okay, great. Thank you, Martin. That was really, really interesting, and thanks for coming along. And we'll share all the info in the newsletter, and we can link you in with Shahidul as well. Great. Okay, we're going to move on, and I'm going to pass over to Gio. So welcome, Gio. Thanks for coming along.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Hope everyone is doing well. I'm just going to share my screen, so bear with me one moment. But just to introduce myself, my name is Gio, and I am the Community Engagement Officer. Sorry, I was saying I'm unable to share my screen for some reason. Let me just try again. I am the Community Engagement Officer at We Belong. Can everyone see my screen?
I can't. No. Do you want me to do it, Gio? I think you sent me the slides.
Yeah, let me try one.
It worked earlier for you, so I'm not sure why it won't work now. But
let me just try once more, and fingers crossed.
It's because we're all watching you. That's what it is.
Is it working now?
Yay!
Yeah, we've got it.
Amazing. All right, guys. Hi, as I said, my name is Gio. I'm the Community Engagement Officer here at We Belong, and I'm going to play you a video about We Belong. So essentially, these are the young people that we have supported in our organization. So, yeah. Please let me know if you can.
When you're in this immigration status, it's like you're running on a treadmill.
Did everyone hear that?
Yeah, it's all good for me.
Okay, amazing.
There's no destination. You're just running and running.
Imagine being in this situation and not knowing where you can go can be really isolating and can be really dark. So I think We Belong is my light.
You haven't even started yet.
Okay, you go first. The best thing about We Belong is the people.
If the food doesn't sell it to you, which is part of the reason we're all here, but
the community is so kind, friendly, pure-hearted.
It's youth-led. It's all young people that have similar or different types of immigration issues.
And they just ignite this whole new person in you, and you just love it.
Well, We Belong was very easy to get in contact with.
I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't even have a sense of direction. Coming here gave me that confidence to do many amazing things.
My first contact with We Belong, it was a phone call. I felt like, oh my gosh, I'm not in this alone.
And even though everyone has a separate story, you kind of feel connection with everyone. And it does give you a sense of oh, these people care about me individually.
I really struggled with my mental health, with anxiety and depression. It was the one-to-one support that made me feel comfortable and be exposed to what happens outside, my own shell. And that really encouraged me to grow and do things that I wouldn't have imagined of doing.
I see We Belong as my safe haven.
It does make a difference.
I can do so many things with my life, and I can help so many people.
Although you're a migrant, that is part of your personality. It's not just that. Exactly. You always just get to expand yourself.
There's never I'm not going to achieve this. It's I'm going to do this, and it's going to work.
There's so many different options for you, and stuff I didn't even know existed.
We Belong kind of tries to find something that's suited to you.
Through their help, I was able to get a scholarship.
I started with the Emerging Young Leaders program.
They give you an accredited qualification to actually feel empowered to make the difference you want to make. Basically, it was a stepping stone to everything I do today.
Metaphorically speaking, when you play those games and you get like a power or a strength, that helps you move forward in a better way. I think We Belong, that is something that it was for me.
Coming in a space like We Belong, for the first time in my life, I felt like I had a home.
We Belong is life-changing.
We Belong is always, going to be a part of like my life forever.
Join us at We Belong and take the next step to greatness.
I belong. You belong.
We belong.
So that was just a quick snippet of what our organization is, but I'll just go into a bit more details. Oops, sorry. Next time. So about We Belong. We are a youth charity based in London and also have an office in Manchester. And what we do is our aims is to end the fight of the hostile environment around immigration and trying to make our young people be a part of British culture. So we support young migrants with precarious status. And we do this through different ways we make sure that organizations youth-led. So we do this through campaigning for young migrants' rights and develop our young people by giving them different skills to help them and support them in training and just a general well-being. So just a little bit about us. Since 2019, we was a part of rule change. So there was a rule. So in the UK, there were different routes to settlement, and essentially there was a 10-year route. We, alongside different organizations, came together and then brought the 10-year route down to 5 years, which was very great for our young people. So they're able to get their citizenship much quicker, but then there's still a fight regarding them having to pay high immigration fees. So what do We Belong do? So we offer a range of services in our youth charity. So the main thing is monthly gatherings. So with monthly gatherings, what we do is every single last Wednesday, we get all of our young people, and they're free to bring a +1, to just bring them in a safe space where they're able to just feel just like themselves. So because they have the title of, oh, I'm a young migrant and stuff, they can kind of feel a bit shy or a bit ashamed of who they are. So we try to create space for them just to feel like young people and just to be around like-minded individuals to make them feel like they are not alone. And we do education support. So a lot of our young people are very ambitious and they would love to go to university. So what we try to do is help them with scholarships or even just contact universities or even speak to universities on their behalf, because a lot of our young people will get charged international fees when really by right they should actually be getting charged normal student loan fees. So what we do is speak to student finance on their behalf. We do youth programs. So right now we are launching Duke of Edinburgh next year. So we're going to add that to our young people to be a part of, as well as we have a youth program called Emerging Young Leaders, which essentially gives the young people leadership skills to kind of better themselves, as well as put them with mentors. So say if a young person has the ambition, has the idea of or aspirations to become a lawyer, what we would try to do is try to find someone who works within that field and put them together and do somewhat of a mentorship, just so to kind of encourage young people as well as enhance their leadership skills, as I mentioned. We do volunteering and work experience. So a lot of our young people, because some of them are unable to get work, so we try to enable them again with skills to make sure when they are in a position they are able to work, then they will have the relevant experience, and they can do this through volunteering, which is through campaigning or just supporting us around the office, as well as offering work experiences from when we go to schools. And we also do a free legal advice clinic. Now with this, we find that a lot of our young people sometimes get fed the wrong information regarding their route to settlement or where they can get support. So as we offer a free legal advice clinic, we try to give them the right information, up-to-date information with different rule changes and stuff that can support them with their immigration issues. And also we offer toolkit training, which I'll go into a bit more detail in a moment. But essentially what we do with our toolkit training is we find that a lot of people don't may not understand or recognize the signs of a young person with curious status. So essentially what we will do is we offer free training to help you point out the different signs and things that may show you that a young person may have precarious status and how they can best support them and just understanding their route to settlement better. So I actually have a nice another animation video that I can show you. Let me just take this now. Can everyone hear okay?
I came to the UK
Amazing.
when I was very young. But when I was 18, I found out my passport paperwork hadn't been sorted out for me, which meant I couldn't do the things all my friends could do. Then I heard about We Belong, which was set up by a group of young migrants like me. Thanks to We Belong, I'm not stuck anymore. We Belong told me that as I'm over 18 and have lived in the UK for more than half my life, I can apply for an immigration status called Limited Leave to Remain. We Belong also helped my little brother and my cousin, who are in the same boat as me. They are both under 18, so qualify for Limited Leave to Remain after living here for 7 years. My brother Lanray can apply straight away. He's 10 and arrived in the UK aged 2. My cousin Mary has to wait a couple of years though. She's also 10, but as Mary came here aged 5, she hasn't yet clocked up 7 years of living in the UK, but she will be able to apply when she's 12. The good news is that when Lanray and Mary have their leave to remain, they'll be able to get on with their lives, just like I was. Even better, after 5 years of us having our leave to remain, we will all be able to apply for permanent settlement in the UK. And a year after that, we can apply to become British citizens. Thank you, We Belong. If, like us, you are granted limited leave to remain because of your strong ties to the UK, you can now apply for permanent settlement after 5 years.
So in this video that you just watched, essentially that's giving you a snippet of some of the stuff that we would cover in the toolkit training, but then we would go in more detail. So if anyone's interested in being upskilled or just wanting to just learn about more about young people with curious status and how to best support them, just please you can drop me an email and we can arrange training, and the training is free as well. Yes, let me go to the next slide. That all should have came afterwards. So right now one of our campaigns that we're running is called the Absolute campaign. So although we've knocked down the 10-year settlement to 5 years, which is very good, but the young people are still in this constant loop of having to pay high immigration fees. And as a lot of them are unable to have access to public funds, how are they able to pay these fees? So it's like they're still in a continuous loop and cycle just to get into their settlement. Like even the cost of applying for a indefinite leave to remain is £3,000, which is quite a lot of money, and most of the young people are unable to afford this. But again, as I love loads of videos, I have another video to share with you.
Testing, 1, 2, 3.
Hello.
My name is Sharif. I'm 26 years old.
I was 7 years old when I came to the UK.
I grew up in Swansea, Wales.
I'm from India.
I am currently learning to play the keyboard.
I describe myself as funny, joyful, and happy.
Right now I'm freelancing, working with tech startups.
At university, I'm doing banking and finance. I'm about to start my training contract as a solicitor. It's something that I've wanted to do since I was about 15 years old.
I'm an investment analyst.
My ambition is to become a football agent. I need to have a lot of drive and passion, which I have. I remember the moment that I got indefinite leave to remain. I just finished an exam. I was ecstatic.
I remember calling my then fiance, now husband, and just be like, oh my gosh, like I've been granted indefinite leave to remain.
Having indefinite leave to remain has made a real difference in terms of my life. I will now be able to go on a work secondment with my employers, possibly to New York or Dubai.
I can work for companies that I couldn't have before.
Having indefinite leave to remain is just confirming what I already feel inside. The UK is my home and I have grown up here.
It meant that I could get on with all of my goals and things I want to do much sooner.
I can look to the future now with great optimism, something I didn't have before. It gives you that form of like stability, and you're like everybody else, you can now live a normal life. I definitely feel peace. It's something that I've wanted for so long.
I just feel like I can finally start my life and my future is now set.
Will you help
young migrants like us get out of the loop
and on with our lives?
So that was another big about the work that we do. And that is my presentation. Does anyone have any questions? I will stop sharing my screen.
Thanks, Gio. That was really good. Charlie, do you want to come in?
Hi, Joe. That was a great presentation.
Thank you.
Excellent use of video as well. Lots of our partners in Hackney, like voluntary sector partners, do work with families with migration issues and young people as well. I just wondered if you know what partners do you work with in Hackney? It'd be interesting to know who you're working with.
So at the moment, some of our young people, as well as us supporting them within We Belong, I know they work with Hackney Migrant Centre. So no, that's one organisation. But at the moment, I'm trying to build and create more awareness within Hackney organisations about the work that we do, and see if there's any way we can work together with any other organisation in Hackney. So if there's any suggestions or partnerships we can do, that would be absolutely amazing.
There's a few that I can think of. I'll send you an email. But have you met our colleague Eden before as well, from our asylum seeker to refugee, our migrant asylum seeker refugee team?
I believe I've had a conversation with Eden.
Okay.
And I think it's just a conversation that needs to get picked back up because it did happen way earlier in the year.
All right, just making sure that link is there.
Thanks, Charlie. Yeah, I was gonna say I didn't know if you'd made that link with the Welcome Hackney team yet, and Beth and Eden, but yeah, if you need any support with that, with sort of building that relationship, then let us know. And do you go into the asylum hotels at all, like not just in Hackney, but sort of anywhere in London?
No, we haven't gone into any asylum hotels.
Okay, that might be something we could maybe link you guys in with as well. And one of mine and Charlie's colleagues, Hannah, is working on a project based around Woodbury Down in the north of Hackney, working with families who are in temporary accommodation. And I know a lot of those families have got sort of migrant histories as well, so that might be another useful connection if you want us to link you in.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you.
Cool. Josie, did you want to come in? No. But you're on mute, but don't worry.
That's it. My touchpad isn't working. I keep forgetting. My question was already answered, but
okay.
Great presentation. Really interesting. Thanks. And uplifting.
Thank you very, very much.
Thanks, Josie. Does anyone else have any questions or comments for Gio? No.
Sorry, I just popped something in the chat.
Oh.
Yeah, it's a sort of bread and butter stuff for us, where people can often afford it, but not immigration costs, but not necessarily one hit, and that's just exactly the sort of thing where credit unions can often help.
Yeah, thanks for that. That's really good to know.
That is very great information. Thank you.
I would say Gio was a good presentation. I never knew that this team existed. Did we belong? This is my first time of hearing about it. Well done. Good job.
Thank you. That's why we're so passionate about trying to spread the word, because a lot of people don't know about us. And then this is an issue that affects so many young people across the country. So it's like, if more young people knew about us, hopefully a lot of situations would get resolved before it escalates, or some young people that we find that we have, some of them, because they live in the UK all their lives, all they know is British culture. And by the time they get to university, they get told, actually, no, you're not British. So you're just like, they're unable to do anything they want to do. So all the dreams that they had, everything just kind of went out the window. But what it say out the window, actually, I should say, become paused, and then would happen at a later date, which was quite unfortunate. But what we're doing now as well is trying to start an early intervention group. So we support young people between the ages of 16 to 25. We're trying to make young people aware of the services or the things that's out there that can support them from now. So by the time they're probably, let's say if we engage with a young person at the age of 15, 14, and then by the time they on their route to settlement, and then they start it, at least by the time they reach 19, 20, they can still go to uni and still have that experience, and then it's out of the way rather than hindering them in their 20s up until their 30s.
Thanks, Gio. And
Thank you.
Charlie.
This happened, the kind of scenario you're talking about happened to a friend of mine at school, finding out at 18 that they weren't eligible for student finance, and then having to go through that process. What's your sense that how many young people are aware of their status, and how do you kind of spread the knowledge with schools? Are you working with in that kind of sense, if that makes sense?
So we find a lot of young people have actually experienced that, and that's how a lot of them find out, unfortunately, about the immigration status. So some may know, and because of lack of funds, some parents may prioritize other children so it's like they can only afford to do one child at a time. So that's how sometimes it can get quite technical. But what we try to do is, with our schools outreach team, essentially we try to go to universities and try to spread awareness from that. As well as what we try to do as well is try to get access into different schools. So with me, we've kind of build connections within different boroughs. It'll be nice to kind of try getting in with certain schools so we can actually speak on this before anything. So we spoke in different schools within South London region, but I'm trying to target Hackney, as quite a few young people have come from Hackney that require support. I hope I answered your question.
That did, thank you. I think we'll have a think about if we've got any contacts in schools to put you in touch with.
That would be absolutely amazing. Thank you.
Nice one, thanks, Charlie. The only other thing I was going to mention in terms of sort of spreading the word is that HCVS run a migrant and refugee forum in Hackney for sort of Hackney-based voluntary sector organisations which work with migrants and refugees. So I could put you in touch with Soraya, who runs that forum, and I'm sure she'd be very happy to sort of invite you along, or at least share some of your comms if that's helpful.
That would be amazing. Please, as many connections as we can. Yeah. just get us out there. That would be amazing.
Great, will do. Nice one. Does anyone else have any questions or comments before we move on?
I was just going to say they're going to need more volunteers to help if they get all these if we have our way. Yeah. Cheers.
All right. Thanks so much for coming along, Gio. That's really, really interesting. And yeah, we'll try and put you in touch with some people who can help out. Okay, we're going to move on. We usually just end the meeting with just an open space for anyone to ask a question or promote something that their organisation or their team is doing. If there's anything you want to let the rest of the guys here know about, something that residents might be able to access, now's your chance. So if anyone wants to come in at this point, please raise your hand. Josie.
I want help, and also I've got. Is everyone aware that Money Hub has changed its name to Hackney Here to Help? I'm not sure if the word's got out, just in case, because I think it's changed on the website. So if anyone has people that need hardship funds or discretionary payments, it's Hackney Here to Help now. And secondly, has anyone got any ideas where someone can get clothes from? I've got a Sally Army. I'm going to ring them tomorrow because I know they do sort of startup things. But does anyone know any charities that help with clothing? Just charity shops, I guess.
There's Hackney Community Closet. They pop up and down depending on capacity. So I'm not sure if they're open right now, but if you Google them.
Just Google it now. Hackney Community Closet. I knew someone from here would have a suggestion. Thank you. That's
if you're having trouble, just let me know, because someone else runs that who might be able to put you in touch with through the back door, if that makes sense.
Thank you. Oh, Charles, that's what we like. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, JC. Go on, Charlie.
I was just going to raise as well. We'll put it out via the Poverty Reduction newsletter, but we've collated what's going to be open for emergency food support from the 23rd to the 2nd, as lots of food organisations won't be operating their normal hours. I've got a PDF of that we can circulate in the newsletter, or if you want it sooner than that, just email me. I'll stick my email in the chat. That's just partners who will be continuing to operate over that close down period.
That would be really useful, actually, just in case we know anyone that's needing help. The other thing is, if you don't forget, Crisis at Christmas is open. They have day centres as well, where there's free meals and a lot of additional care, even for people that aren't necessarily homeless but are precarious. That can help.
Thanks, Josie and Charlie. The only thing I was going to mention was that I briefly mentioned it earlier. Our colleague Hannah is working on a project to support people in TA, particularly in Woodbury Down, and better connect them with sort of support available locally. So she's organised some drop-in sessions for those families and those residents, and it's on Monday, the 16th of December, 11 till 3, and it's at the Edge Youth Hub in Woodbury Down. So if you're working with any residents in TA around that sort of area, then please do sort of advise them to go along to that. There'll be lots of other services there which they can hear about. So I will also share the flyer in the newsletter. But yeah, if that sounds something, if that sounds like something that might be of help to people you're working with, then yeah, please do tell them to go along.
I've got a couple of people in TA there, so yeah, that would be useful. Thanks.
Okay, great. I'll share the flyer with you, Josie.
Excellent. Cheers.
Brilliant. Anyone else want to come in at this point? No? Okay. Well, this is the last. Oh, Josie.
Just quickly.
Yeah.
I'm sorry I haven't been for a couple, but there's not many people here. What's going on? It's normally loaded.
I don't know. I think maybe, I don't know if it's because it's the end of the year or
Saturnalia holidays have started.
Yeah.
yeah.
I can attest that lots of people are unwell as well.
Yeah, that's true, Charles. You're always here, Charles.
We've got half of our staff off with either COVID or flu at the moment.
Oh no!
I've just recovered from it myself, so yeah, that's probably one reason.
Yeah.
It's because it's just a really good forum, and I hate missing it. So and I'm sure, like me, the reason I've missed it the last few times is just pressure of work, and today I thought, I don't care, I'm coming, this is more important, really.
Well, actually, Josie, one of the things, if you invite money lenders along to meetings, you tend to get a lower turnout.
Oh, that's not no. I would have come earlier if I'd known you were here.
Well, it's great to have you here, Josie, so thanks for coming along. But yeah, if people have sort of if people's organisations have newsletters or ways of sharing, spreading the word about the meeting, then get in touch, and I can send you like a few lines to put in your comms or put in your newsletters, because it's all, everyone who works with residents in Hackney is very welcome to come along. And on that note, actually, this is the last one for this year, so I think the next one is going to be on the 9th of Jan. And if anyone has any ideas for people that they think would make a good candidate to present, or if they want to present themselves, or there's things that people want to hear about, there's a gap in your knowledge about what's out there, just let me know, and I can try and get someone along to sort of suit that need. But yeah, this is the last one for this. Josie.
Sorry, you're trying
That's
to wind
all
up. I keep thinking of things.
No,
John, has anything, like Gio and Martin coming along and presenting, do we have a database for all these things to feed into? We have that better conversations thing where we could put in a subject and it would come up with, do you know what?
Yeah, well, there's the Fine Support Services website, which is, the council run thing, but I think it's still up, but I think it's like sort of in a review phase.
Right.
So I mean, lots of people ask for, do you mean like a directory basically of like what's out there? Yeah, something that comes up a lot. And I think that's why they brought someone in, so I think, to review Fine Support Services, but I don't know where that project's at, and what the thinking is really. I don't know if you know anything, Charlie, about, you might know more than me about the Fine Support Services project and that whole question.
Just that it's a complicated back-end design at the moment.
Yeah.
The problem, Josie, with directories in general is that they get out of date really quickly.
Yeah.
So the problem is, this is why something like this meeting is really useful, because you get those live connections with people and you hear about live work. As someone who kind of tries to keep a kind of log of what's going on in Hackney, it's basically out of date as soon as if I take a week off, it's wrong, So that kind of resource is really hard to kind of keep alive.
It is. It takes a lot of maintaining. You're always a fount of all knowledge, Charles.
What I want to hear, keep saying that, Josie.
And John, of course. Don't want to upset John.
Well, it's really great to have you here, Josie. So when you can come along, please do.
Because I talk a lot.
Yeah, you always contribute, which is valuable. So it's good.
No worries. Thanks, John.
Yeah, I think we'll wrap up there. So if I don't see any of you before Christmas, have a great holiday. Josie?
I'm just pretending. Got nothing to say. Have a good Christmas, everyone.
Yeah. All right. Thanks everyone for coming, and thanks Gio and Martin. And yeah, have a good one, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you for having me. Take care, everyone.
You're welcome. More than welcome. I wish I had clients to send you, but I'm not in that field. But good luck.
Well, thank you for listening.
It was good.
Take care.
Thanks, John. You're amazing.
Thank you.
Bye.